Hello and welcome, developers. My name is Shay, and this is another episode of Shay Develops. I hope you guys are all doing well and are staying safe during this time we got, and using your time to learn something. And if you're here, you obviously are. This is the second video in this series where we're going to be learning how to build a website completely from scratch. That means understanding the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript that's required in order to make a website function, right? Because all of these different languages serve a purpose, and that purpose really allows us to make a fully functioning website, as compared to if we remove one of these languages, we lose something that can't be replaced anywhere else, as far as another language is concerned. This is like the bare bone, or the backbone really, of future frameworks and stuff that you're going to learn, where these languages are used to help build those future sites that you're going to be using. I feel like that was a little convoluted, but hopefully it makes sense. All right. So in our first video, we talked about the three different languages: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and how they interact with each other. Where HTML is a structure, CSS is make something. What's the word for attractive? Anyway, makes it attractive, readable, whatever it is that you want to call it. And then JavaScript that builds functionality into your site. So that's the basics of those three languages. But in this video, we're going to be talking more so about HTML. So HTML, specifically HTML5, is used to define the structure of the content on a page. It's used to help screen readers read over that content and then relay it back to somebody who has a visual disability, visual impairment. That's a big help to accessibility, is that. So HTML is definitely the underlying language that allows accessibility, as far as like I said, to those with visual impairments. It also allows screen readers, such as like Google's web crawler, or not screen readers, but web crawlers like Google's web crawler, to come in and understand our content and see if what parts of our content are related, and are they related to the whole page as a whole, or is this content about fishing, and this content over here is about web development, software development, that kind of stuff. That's not, you could say that one could be related to the other with the patience of fishing, and the patients needed to learn web development, sure. But as far as the audience, no, they're going to be they're not coming there for fishing if they're coming there for web development, and vice versa, right? So that's a lot of the benefit of what HTML provides. So we also have to figure out how to work with it and make sure we're defining and using HTML to kind of build this scaffolding for our content across the page. To start, though, we have what's called the doc type. And before I actually go any further, the stuff that we're going to be talking about here is not necessarily what we're going to be using in the end video. I mean, of course, it's definitely what we're going to be using, but the stuff that I'm going to be working on and building right now isn't necessarily what we're going to be using in the end video. We're going to go more in depth into each of the three languages, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript within the next few videos. And then on the final video, we're going to go through and actually build an entire site. That'll probably take a little while, but build an entire site, and from the knowledge that we've learned from these few videos here. Okay, so let's start with the top though of an HTML document. That's the doc type. Now, it doesn't matter which version of HTML that you've been using, they've all had a doc type. But now for HTML5, the doc type has lost a lot of weight. It's now just basically doc type HTML. And what I'm talking about is this right here. It tells the browser as it comes across this page, hey, this is what you're going to be expecting. This is the language and the version of the language that you're going to be reading as you continue. So it gives a heads up to the browser saying, hey, I'm an HTML page. You should treat me as such. And then the next we have our HTML tag. And then we should actually probably talk about a tag real quick. A tag and an element are very much one and the same. It's a grouping of the tag and the content within it, as well as the attributes and the values to those attributes. So let's take a look at this H1 tag here to kind of get a better understanding of what I just said. So the whole thing is from H1 to H1, right? That's the tag and the on-click attribute, the on-click value, and even the text within the element itself, right? It's the whole thing. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about like a tag or an element. It's all of it. So you have, most of your tags have a starting and ending tag. Some don't, but 99, I don't know the real value, but most of them do. There are a couple that don't, like the BR tag and the HR tag, just right offhand, but that's all I know at the moment. You can see as I added those, it put in a line break and just a line all the way across. But like I said, most of them are going to have a starting and ending. So let's also go back and talk about structure. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's continue on the page. We can get to structure in a minute. So the next part is our head tag. Our head tag specifies basically metadata for our page. So we use the meta tag, which I guess is another tag that doesn't have an opening and ending, but they're a bit more frequent in the head as far as than actual within the body of your page. But yeah, so metadata, if you're not familiar, is just data about the data or about the information that it's about to read on your page. So we have a title. This shows up in the navigation, or not the navigation, but the right here in the what is the tab? Yeah, right here in the tab of the window. That's your title. So it says test website. That's right there. It says test website. And then you have a link to your style sheets. Will also be in your head tag. And this viewport one right here is actually pretty important. It allows the site to actually be responsive on mobile devices in a whole. So it's pretty important that you specify that viewport, and you might find different variations of this online if you look, but I think this one's pretty standard. I haven't had any issues with just a standard viewport before. Let's do this. That's your head tag. If you want to look into any of this any further, you can go to W3 Schools. You can Google it. There's lots and lots of information online. Yeah. But just think your head tag is it stores your meta information, which is the information about the information. So it's just the information about your website and what other files and stuff that may be attached to it. All right, so we're going to continue on to the body. Now this is all the information that is going to be displayed to the user. So unless it's like commented out or something. So if I commented out this H1 tag, save the page, look over here, the H1 tag's gone. So just comments aren't going to be displayed to the user. But other than that, everything else is going to be displayed to the user within this body tag. So here's now where the structure matters a bit more. It used to be that we would just use what's called div tags to align all our content and just manipulate the content as we saw fit. However, with div tags, the issue with that is there's no semantic meaning to them. So a div is a div is a div. But if instead I want to change this and use a nav tag, I am now specifying that, hey, this area right here is to be considered navigation. So now I can put in some links to whatever pages that I want, and then save that, and then go over and click on them, and get an error because I haven't specified anything where for a contact page. If I created a /contact right here, new file, contact.html, and then used Emmet to quickly create. And I have a video, if you want to go check it out on Emmet. It allows you to code HTML quite a bit faster than you would without it. And I'll just do H1. Oh. H1. And then saved it. Refresh this, go to contact. Cannot get /contact. There it goes. Okay. That's working now. I don't know. It's because I didn't specify the .html part in the tag. I don't know. There it goes. Okay, so it's working like it should now. So so now whenever, like I said, a screen reader comes through, or Google web crawler or whatever comes through and sees this, like, hey, here's my navigation. These are the links within my navigation. And you could like add some others if you needed to add some better styling or whatever. You could just do like a div and then place this around here, and it'll still work the same. Like everything's good. It still sees this nav here, and it sees this as well. And you could also put a div around the navigation as well, and that works the same way. So that's fine. You just want to make sure that we're using these navigation or using these semantical don't even know if that's a word, semantical, but these elements or these tags that have a meaning behind them that that the screen readers or whatever can read, use, and all that good stuff. Now, we're not going to go over all of the tags. You can Google them. They're on w3schools.com or .org or whatever that site is. I'll put a link in the navigation. But we're going to go over a few. So we have the nav that we already talked about. We have the heading tags and paragraph tags. So you have a heading, and then you have a paragraph that follows it saying, hey, this heading should be related to the content that's in the paragraph below it. At least Google can figure that out, right? It can read the text between the H1 tag and then read the text within the paragraph tag and see if that text correlates with each other. So that's the way you want to think about how to break up your actual text-based content as far as like the real meat and potatoes of a page, right? How do you want to specify your heading tags as far as like, okay, because you don't want to just throw a bunch of H1s on there and say, hey, everything's just as important, because you may want to say, hey, this is a subsection of this heading. So I have an H1 here with another H1, and then I want to come over here and do like an H2, and I'll do like a subheading, and then another paragraph, and then now I have a heading and then a subheading. So whenever the screen readers come through and see this, they're like, oh, okay, this heading or this content is also now related to this content above it within the H1, and it has this hierarchical structure to it as it's reading or as it's crawling your page. Now, that's about it for as far as this video. It's already 17 minutes, and we're going to be going more in depth in the very last video. But I just wanted you guys to understand that HTML is used for structuring a page, and then within these HTML tags, you have different attributes that you can add to them. Like this one's on click to go to load this JavaScript file, but here we have an href that tells this page that whenever somebody clicks on it to go to this document within our document structure, within our code, and go to that page. So then there's, we have our attribute value. And that's really all that there is to HTML. Really, you just gotta know how to use it in order to drive the impact that you want, or not necessarily the impact, but the message. Drive the message that you want in the correct way. And that's HTML allows us to do that by allowing us to structure our content, and then using that structure later to add CSS and JavaScript to it to allow us to update our site beyond, this would be just black and white, but beyond just black and white text. But I've got this style sheet attached to it right now that makes this background blue. All right, so that's enough for 20 minutes of me rambling about HTML. But like I said, we're going to be going more in depth into it on our final video. The next video is going to be on CSS, cascading style sheets. Hopefully I won't ramble on that one as long. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. You guys take care. Peace.